Today we're going to see data types in Java. Before learning the Java other topics, first we need to learn what is data types, why data types are needed for the programming language, what is the purpose of studying the data types. Data types. Let us go see some other real example. There are the two teams. One team have 5 members and other team have 25 members. Uh, For 5 numbers, we need the small room. For 25 numbers, we need some big room uh, on hall. Uh, we we give hall for the 5 numbers. There are the huge spaces wasted. If we have the small room for 25 members, we cannot allocate the 25 numbers in that particular room. For this specific purpose, programming language have a data types that tells the Java data variable can store how much it's needed, and this is the one efficiency way to store the data. As a developer, why I need to focus on the data types? Because every organizations the data are stored in the server. As I say, the 5 numbers and 25 numbers on real example, or like that we go to the server. There are the huge peoples, lakhs of peoples, crores of peoples are use the company product. Their data are stored in the our server, the company server. For that, we need to separate for each other data are stored in the efficiency way. That's why we going to study the data types. Data types is the most important things you must learn as the Java developer. What programming language is not matter. Every developer must know the data types. Data types used for the efficiency way to store the data. This 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 roles plays a huge roles for the organizations to store data in the cost efficiency manner. That's major thing. Okay, let us derive to the data types. A data type tells the Java what kind of data a variable can be stored, okay, and how much memory is needed. It's saying each variable what kind of data it going to store the number of it going to store the number, or it going to store the alphabetic characters. There are the two different way to store the data. For uh, for the numbers that have the some specific data types to store the data. For the characters, there has some other things to store the data. For that, we want to choose the right data types. How much amount of data going to be stored? That's only here. That's only going to see here. Java has two type of data types: primitive data types and non-primitive data types. The primitive data types are the oldest Java data types. When the Java was built, this primitive data type are also built. Still, we have using this primitive data type manner to store the data in the Java. And non-primitive data types are the not oldest way to store the data, but we can use to store the memory address and object attribute that can be created either by the Java or the user. What the Java or the user. There are the two type of non-primitive data types. There are the derived data type. Derived data type means the data types are already built in the Java library, and user defined data types. The data types are created by the developer while developing the product. Let us see primitive data type. There are the some set of 8 primitive data types. What are they? Byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. These are the 8 primitive data types. Okay, I have know the 8 primitive data types. For this 8 primitive data types, they have the particular range. Your data should be in this particular range. You should select this particular data types. Your data should be in a number. You should select this particular data type. Your data is an alphabetic array. You should select this particular data type. For range, we need not for this for this range we need not want to memorize. There are the some specific formula to know the range. That's the formula is 2 power n minus 1 to 2 power n minus 1 minus 1. This was the formula to know the range. The one byte equal to 8 bit. That we already know in the programming language. If somebody know, if somebody is the new to learn. 1 byte equal to 8 bit. For n we will say the how much bit of data. Here 2 power n is 2 power 8 minus 1. 2 power 8 minus 1 means 2 power 7 to 2 power 7 8 minus 1 means 2 power 8 minus 1 7, and the range should be in minus. Okay, here the byte we can store the data is minus 128 range to plus 128 range. For short we can have range to minus 32,768 to plus 32,768. Like that also in 2 minus 2 power 31 to plus 2 power 31 minus 1. These are the some specific range to store the data types. And long is the 8 bit, and float is the 4 bit, double is the 8 bit. Char, this char we going to store the specific characters. Here boolean we going to store value should be in true or false. Let us first see the what are the non-primitive data types with some example, and we then other move to the non-primitive data type. Let's see primitive data type and other going to the non-primitive data type. um, the this byte version, this byte version data types, the num was a variable name, and short was a data type, num1 was a variable name, int was a data type, number was a variable name, string was a data types, str was the variable name, char was the data types, chars was a variable name, boolean was a data type, found was the variable name, float was a data type, float num was the variable name, long was the data type, long num was the variable name, double was a data type, double num was the variable name. Why? For small, for the byte is the small range to store the data. For the number byte we can store small data, that way I store the value of 10. Short we can store the range of minus 32,788 to plus 32,788. For that, so I can store some huge amount of data like that auto int. And for also string used to store the characters, multiple characters we can store in the strings. For the char we can store the single characters in the strings. Boolean we can store values or should be true or false, we can store in the boolean. Float we can store floating point, floating values. Long we can store the long data type. Long was an 8-bit data types. Then here what should be a value? 8 8 byte equal to 8 bit. 8 8 are 64. Then means 2 power 64. 2 power 64 minus 1 to 2 power 64 63 minus 1. This was the range for the long. And double, we can store the values in the point in the double. We can store the double data type. Let us print each other how the values should be stored. I command this, do not focus this line. I run the code. Here I can run. Here I can print the data types of 10 by using the variable name. By using the variable name, only we going to store the data and we going to print. Without variable name, we cannot access the particular data. Variable name was the one of the important things we can access the data. Okay. And after that, there was a non-primitive data type. Non-primitive data types are used to store the memory address of an object and its attributes that can be created either Java or the user. Non-primitive data types have two derived and derived data type and user defined data type. The derived data type is the built-in by the Java library. There are some other built-in Java library data types are string, array, class, interface, object, string buffer, string builder, scanner, array list, hash map, English data. These are the some other things not need to be memorized. We can see in other upcoming videos what is the purpose of this and what are the user defined data types. The user defined data type, Java gives a keyword. We use them and create the user defined data type. What Java gives the keyword class, by using the class we can create the class data type class and for Java gives the interface, by that we use the interface. Java gives the enum, by we can create the enum, and there are the some customized array that these are the things we can see in the array portion. In this enum area, in this enum, why enum? Enum also a data type. Enum is used to store the group of the data. For example, color is a set of group. There we can store red, green, blue, yellow, orange, and some group of color data only. Uh, for set of shirt size, we can store the specific shirt size only. We can store the group of data. We use the enum data type. Let us see one overview of the data type. These are the things that we need to be memorized. No, these are the things are we going to use in the different purpose. We just know what is the data type. Data type is the way to store the data type. These are the some specific way we have to store the data type. Mostly for our practice we use int and string. Int used to store as the number and string used to store as the characters. And by using the variable name we going to print the data. This was only a main concept we need to know. And I going to print the characters in this Java language. Characters was str. Okay. mm, Str. Words. Yeah, now we print the integer and also we print the characters. One short way to understand the data types, the only one way to store the alphabetic character is string. For the number, there have the some specific list of data types. What range of number we going to store? Example, we going to store 1 to 10. We going to choose one other data type. We going to store 1 to 10, 100. We use some other data type, and we going to store 1 to 1000. We use other data types. We going to store 1 to 1 lakh data. We use other data type. That's what data types have two way. One was going to store the number and one was going to store the characters. And we, for the true or false, there has the boolean. If should be the value should be true, print true. If the value was false, print false. That we have Java have boolean. These are the only three major reasons we going to store the data type. Not fully focus on this much things I have learned. Well, I have learned. I want to learn for the Java. Uh, in the way of journey, you will learn this much things, but you can focus on this these two things. For store the string, for store the alphabetic character, there I have the string. For store the integer, there I have the some other integer data type. Most of the time, we going to use the int. These are the two major things we going to store in our mind. Data type also a very easy concept. By the way of learning, we can know why this much data types are used in the process. Okay, but somebody is or was new to the Java. What I need to say, Java have the class. This class is the class name was a student. In the set of class, I have declared some data types and variable. This was the main method. In this main method, I going to store. I going to print this specific data. For example, this was the classroom. If the students are sitting in the classroom, the main method was the teacher who called the specific student. The students says the attendance. Thing like that. How this students was the class name. This was the classroom, and how we can print how the teacher called. For we need to print, already we have seen we need to print some output. That was system.out.println should print the output. This was the student calling teacher calling the student from the classroom. We are going to print a student in the classroom, and we going to call the first person in the class. The first person in the class name was num. We calling the person num, and and uh, and the teacher calling for other students, he is present or not, uh, in the classroom name, and that specific student name. If we call the student says I am present. When we say attendance, if our name comes, then only we say as the attendance if the students are present or not. For that main process, we have some set of uh, students in the classroom, in our class, which teacher as for the specific students, that students only going to answer this specific question. That's the way are done in here are done here. How this was an object. This was seen in other upcoming videos. Now you can focus on what is the data types. Only you can focus, and how we can print it. If we want to if we want to now like that, if we want to go to some specific class, if you want to go ECE sections, this was an ECE section student. If I go to the ECE classroom, and I going to take the ECE class for students attendance only. For that, first we want to create an object for the classroom, and that specific object we going to call the specific student. In deeper, we will see in what is class, what is an object. We will deeply see in other topics. Now, lightly you note, we going to focus on what is the data types. Thank you. I think so. This was something for you. I will not say I was the best teacher. I am just a friend who give some clarity what we going to learn in this particular data type topics. What are the things we need to learn in website, in others, in other book, and in other chat GPT. We need to know in the data types what are the topics I need to learn. I have I have you. These are the topics only you're going to learn in the data types. That's only I going to help here. The process was you going to learn selfly. That only teaches you more. I am here to give a clear path for each topic. There are the some set of specific topics. What are the clear path from starting point to end point? I going to give only the proper roadmap that you have get the proper roadmap. You will be mastered in this particular area. For that, some specific spark only I need. I not need for in your whole journey. Thank you. Whole journey we see some other updated process, but this was a major thing. Thank you.